What makes someone special? Is there any meaning behind that? We all want to feel unique and be appreciated by everyone around. So how far will be willing to go in order to obtain that? This is the central conflict of the 2016 anime Mob Psycho 100. This show is an adaptation of the webcomic with the same name, created by no other than One, the same writer behind last year's hit One Punch Man. Unlike One Punch's comic, which was readapted into a manga by Yusuke Murata, the illustrator behind iShield 21, Mob Psycho's source material has a rather simple art, so the direction went full creative with the production of the show. The story of the show is about a young high schooler, Kageyama Shigeo, or Mobu for the friends, who has psychic powers. This initial premise sounds pretty much generic and unoriginal, but if someone is able to give an interesting twist to this kind of story, it's One. Mob's abilities are impressive, as shown in the very first minute of the show, but the conflict comes from him not being popular and from his personality, being a rather expressionless guy. Again, this may sound like Saitama, but please bear with me, because this is as far as similarities goes. So let's throw that out of the way. Mob works as a part-time exorcist with his master Reiken Arata, who teaches him how to use his powers. Or so it seems, because in reality he's a con artist trying to reap all his clients' money with false accusations of ghosts and curses. He also deceives his student, making him believe he's one of the strongest psychics of the world, even when he's actually powerless. They both live a rather easygoing life, and whenever there's a little glance of danger, his powers come to rescue. So where's the conflict? Well, it comes in two ways. First, despite Shige seem like an emotionless guy, he's still a teenager with a love of anxiety and insecurity. So when he realizes he's not enjoying his job to the fullest, he decides to become popular and live a more social life. And as every introvert knows, that's a lot harder than it sounds. And second, with a more traditional battle shonen plot, introduced on the second half, with intense battles and extremely over-the-top actions. As the show goes on, more characters are introduced having identity crises and struggles just like mobs, becoming a more action and energetic kind of show. Not that it lacked those characteristics since the beginning, but they became the main focus from that point on. Let's talk about each character's personalities. Mob is overpowered, end of discussion, but his abilities come with a constant fluctuation in intensity since he restrains himself most of the time, due to some bad experiences in his past and the constant recommendations of Reigen. Outside of his abilities, he's uncharismatic, a wimp, not that confident, and pretty much lacks common sense. All this comes from his constant suppression of emotions, since their powers come from them. Wait, that sounds familiar. He's somewhat relatable, his goals are plain and simple: become popular, and a lot of people has felt the struggle of trying to acquire social recognition. He has psychic powers, so why not use them? This is the most important lesson of the show, since Mob believes this doesn't make him special for three main reasons. First, this will mean he's useless without them. Second, he thinks about his powers just like any other talent, like singing or fast running. And lastly, putting effort into something is what really makes you special. This is the main driving force of the series, since a lot of the characters he battles have a disagreement in one of these points. One example is Hanazawa Teruki, an expert that believes himself as the main protagonist of the world, due to his confidence in his own strength. But Shigeo tries to teach him the importance of not harming others and not to overuse his power. Another example is Mob's younger brother, Ritsu, with whom he shares an inferiority complex, since they both have something the other don't. Ritsu is smart, athletic, and handsome, but does not have psychic powers, so he feels frustrated, while the older brother is the other way around. As the show goes on, they both develop a better understanding of each other. Reigen may be the only other important character, but his role and relevance in Mob's life is explored as the show goes on, and I would rather not spoil it in this review. The rest of the cast is used for comic relief, but each one of them has a unique personality and treats the main character in a unique way. The story of the show is amazingly executed, but the visuals far exceed my expectations. As I previously said, the original art of the comic is simplistic, even hard to look at, so the staff behind the adaptation could only improve them. But what kind of style could work in this design? More detailed visuals? More colorful? They took a non-traditional approach. They tried almost every style possible and unite them for a cohesive and fast-paced narrative. The character designs were kept simplistic. Why? Because this makes animation more versatile, from the movement to the styles. For example, the show constantly makes use of angles and movement to represent situations. There are a lot of shots with the camera constantly moving around the characters, something truly difficult in animation. So the simpler the design, the easier to accomplish. A lot of studios try to make this kind of movement with 3D backgrounds and over-designed characters, making it feel stiff. This show does it smoothly whenever the camera shows different perspectives, like a fisheye shot or a dynamic character's point of view. When I say this show uses different styles, I mean a lot of styles. They use different textures, like the one representing psychic powers and the ones used in Mob's emotions. The art goes from simpler to overdrawn, something particularly shown with Reagan. There are static images that go from colorful to sketch-like, as a way to represent characters' emotions and reactions. The animation also plays with these expectations, letting you feel comfortable with these shots to later flip the results. The color is another example, and the classic shot, reverse shot are done with a distinct art that represent each character's emotions. By far, the most interesting art style of them all is the use of the glass painting by Sato Miyo. These scenes are animated with just ink and a glass, and the transitions within this style are really natural, and reflect the amazing attention to detail that went into the show. This kind of animation gives an uncomfortable feeling, just like in stop motion. This doesn't mean they feel out of place, because the simple design of the show blends naturally with all these different kind of styles. The most important visual narrative aspect may be Mob's explosion percentage counter. Whenever something triggers Mob's insecurities or causes some kind of stress in his persona, the frame is boxed, showing the amount of pressure he's feeling. Across the episodes, he reaches 100% a couple of times, causing a different emotion to shine in each occasion, from anger to sadness, and even some more complicated ones. Most of the music packs a suspense feeling, but there weren't any particular occasions in which the music was the main focus. The opening and ending did an excellent job, for sure, but there wasn't any truly remarkable for the rest of the music. The use of sound effects was a different story, and it becomes a constant way to represent action. On the voice acting, the passiveness of Mob does a good job, but doesn't feel that spectacular. The two characters with the more interesting variety of acting may be Reagan and Dimple, since both go from serious to mischievous and even aggressive. The way this show pushes the implementation of different kinds of animation is masterful, and we may see more techniques, like Sato Sensei's glass painting, in future productions. The ending of the show is a statement to it. Adaptations are coming from a lot of different places, and thanks to the popularity of one, webcomics may start gaining more attention, just like light novels. Studio Bones is making a statement in delivering more and more impressive shows in late seasons, and improving the quality of the evolution and genre. Overall, this show is coming from really different places, so I will say its relevance within the animation media may go farther than it seems. For me, every aspect was fully connected, so my conclusions are that the story shares a lot of aspects with that other show, but it does it in a way it feels completely different, and even better. The way most of the conflicts are resolved felt unique and almost nothing felt unnecessary. The story still needs to expand more, but what we got here was good characters arcs that felt almost complete. The only aspect that may drag this show a little bit is the humor, which I found most of the time hilarious. It didn't always hit the mark with full strength, but it never failed to be entertaining. The visual aesthetics felt perfectly connected, the percentage counter as a constant reminder, the cinematography and the different kind of styles keep the audience constantly entertained. Unfortunately, I can say the same for the music and the voice acting, which wasn't bad by any means, but it wasn't remarkable either. All the elements in the show may sound a little experimental, but they end up blending smoothly and opens the door for new techniques other than the overpopulated CGI. The inclusion of most shows with a rather humble origin, like webcomics are, may give us a broader range of shows. With all that, the final score is a 9 out of 10. This was my favorite show of this season, and I never thought something this interesting will come out from this kind of adaptation. This show felt like a unique story, and I end up liking it way more than its predecessor. As you may know, I celebrate animation in all its different ways, and that's why this kind of show truly amazed me. Let's hope more producers take this kind of risks so the whole media keeps evolving. This has been the All-Arounder Geek, Master of Nothing, Apprentice of Everything, and remember, this is an amazing time to be alive.
でも倒れてるよ。
はあ。